And tonight's special guest is Marabelle Blue. And before we get started here, Marabelle, just a quick question. Why Marabelle Blue? Is Blue not obviously probably not your last name, but I mean, is that mean a special color? Color your eyes? Favorite color? What is the blue part of Marabelle Blue?
I do not have blue eyes.
Oh,
Marabelle Blue, for a lot of people who have been following my magazine for quite some time, because I own an adult-themed magazine, and it's also a lifestyle magazine, so we welcome everybody who has alternative thinking, because that's what it's basically about, alternative living and alternative thinking.
Yeah, we got your address right here on the bottom of the screen there at kinkymagazine.com.
That's right. So, yes, going back to that, in short, after I broke up with my ex-boyfriend, I was really reinventing myself. And there was a book that I had read, and one of the characters in the book, her name was Marabelle Blue.
Oh.
And a lot of people don't know this because I think they believe that that's my real name, but it's not. But
no. Just like my real name's Packard too.
So I just liked where this woman, how she evolved in the book, the way she was described. She was very strong, she was very independent, she had a mind of her own, and at that time in my life, in 2001, I was the complete opposite of what this character was, and I wanted to get there. I wanted to find that place in my life. So I adopted the name, and I started a blog, and from the blog it turned into a magazine, and from a magazine it just evolved from there. And as each day went on, as each month went on, and as each year went on, I realized that I had become one with that character in the book, but not a character as myself.
Right.
So I feel like I'm Marabelle Blue now, and I am.
That's it. Very interesting. Interesting. Look
Excellent.
At it. Yes. My next question here. You said in one of the previous segments there that you're not religious and you don't believe in Jesus Christ or anything like that. Were you ever religious, and how did you come to your non-belief?
I was very, very religious at one time. Believe it or not, I grew up with the Catholic faith. My whole entire family is Catholic. Some have converted to some form of Christianity. And, you know, I would never know, listening to them, talking to them. There are other people that are not family related that you would know because they have to, you know, throw Jesus in there. But it definitely happened when I was a teenager. I remember my sister and I getting confirmed, and they put the oil on your head.
Oh,
and when we left, my sister was like, "Did you feel that? You know, did you feel that feeling when they put the oil on your head?" And I was like, "No." And I looked at her like, "Gee, what does she feel that I didn't feel? I thought I did something wrong." And
it was slime.
It kind of like started the trend of, what the fuck is going on here? Like, why is it that people are feeling certain things? And, you know, of course, getting exposed to other types of religion. I had a lot of friends who believed in the Baptist faith, and, you know, they were talking about falling on the floor and feeling the spirit, and that was something that I couldn't relate to either. I was with Connie, what Connie was talking about before with the Ouija board. I played with that. I will never play with it again. I really believe that the experiences that I had playing with that was very real, and it really scared the shit out of me.
I understand that. My brothers and sisters tell me about the stuff that they used to do with the Ouija board and stuff. I also have a niece that said she took one and she broke it open and she found magnets inside. So I don't know if that's true or not, but maybe.
I mean, I don't know, and I'm not gonna play with one to find out whether it's true or not. I can only share based on my personal experiences that I had with the board.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really going to get into it right now because
sure.
it's just spooky. But anyway,
we're all about debunking spooky on this show.
right, exactly. And you know what? At the time, I was using drugs, so anything goes at that point.
Oh, yeah, well, if you're using drugs, you might as well just like... There you go. I just blame the drugs and just chalk it up to that.
Exactly. But, yeah, that kind of started the trend of questioning Christianity and what to believe and what not to believe. I mean, I had befriended a priest in the parish, and I was talking to him, and it almost was like I wasn't getting any real answer from anybody. I don't think that they had answers to their own level of insanity, I guess, for lack of a better word.
No, that's a good reason. It
just kind of trickled from there. I mean, I had stopped going to church, and then I went back at some point in my life, and it just really came to a point that I was like, look, I'm not believing in this. I'm never going to believe in it. And there, in the beginning, there was that fear that, like we were talking about before, that if I don't believe in it, I'm going to go to hell or this and that. And once I started opening up to other concepts and other philosophies and other understandings that people had on their own personal spiritual journey, or whatever it is. I mean, I have friends who are Satanists, and some of them are more like of a philosophical nature, and not so much we're going to dress up in black robes and worship the devil. It's like the total opposite of what's depicted on TV and what society would like for you to believe.
Right.
And this is why, the magazine it had evolved in the sense that we're not just talking about kinky lifestyle and or kinky sex, but we're talking about alternative thinking, alternative beliefs. And I think once I had changed the magazine to have that thought process in mind, that I started to attract more and more people like yourself, who is an atheist, who has this alternative thinking, who who has a sarcastic sense of humor like I do. And it became very important to me to talk to more and more people who have this type of lifestyle, these types of beliefs. And I became comfortable with the fact that it was okay that I no longer believed in the Catholic mind or the Catholic thoughts or the Catholic upbringing. My mother has an issue with it, but at the same time, I think she just understands that what I personally believe in is what makes me happy. There are times that I switch, there's nothing really out there. And then there are times that, I kind of sit down and say, what, universe, like, whatever, help me with this or help me with that. But I think for me, it's just something that's ongoing. It just doesn't just stay. It's like, it's an everyday thing for me.
Yeah.
But as far as the whole Catholic faith is concerned, I will never go back. I went to a church yesterday and I took pictures for my mom, but I
and you didn't burst into flames?
No, I didn't burst into flames. It was funny because I put it on Facebook and I said, I'm going to get ready to walk into a church right now. And of course, everybody was like making jokes and things of that nature. But looking around this particular church, because here in New York, they have the San Gennaro feast going on, and I think it's going to end this weekend. I'm not sure. But it really solidified that everything that I thought was real back then is still not real for me today.
Yeah.
And
No, I
I'm
can understand.
comfortable with that. And if other people are not comfortable with it, well, then, fine, so be it. I could really care less.
Right. No, I can understand that completely. It's just that's not unheard of. The stuff that you've described there, dealing with the family and the friends, if they don't want to deal with it, then it's just tough cheese for them. So, but anyway, my next question here is: some of your videos that you've done, is that done in like a real studio? Because you got a lot of good camera switching and things like that. Do you do the editing for the video, or do you have somebody else doing the editing for you, or?
Well, I have a show. It's called KEM Top Talk. It's short for Kinky Magazine. It's just way too long to give a talk show a very long name, so we just called it KEM Top Talk. Top Talk basically came from top topics, and alternative topics. Things that people are not talking about on regular TV, we're going to talk about it here on KEM Top Talk.
Right.
I was in a studio. I was shooting out in a place in Long Island, and unfortunately, it didn't work out because the guy wanted something more family oriented, and now I hear that he doesn't have a studio. So you see, that's what happens.
Yeah.
When you try to change something that was actually working. So at this point now, the show is on hiatus. Every now and then I'll do something here out of what I call the Kinky Magazine headquarters, which is my bedroom. And
hey, you got to do somewhere. I do this in my living room. So.
Yeah, and I talk about, The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and relationships and dating. I just try to keep it very simple and to the point, but I'm hoping that very, very soon we can start doing the show again.
Oh, good. We'll look forward to it. I have another quick question here. Do you ever watch any other YouTube channels, or what's the other channels that you like out there on YouTube besides, Packard Pokes At?
To be honest with you, I'm not a big YouTube fan. I mean, I put my videos up there, but I really don't spend a lot of my day watching different sorts of videos. I don't know why. I think because I'm just too busy working on the magazine and talking to people and setting up interviews and, people that want to work with me. It kind of like falls through the cracks unless somebody brings up, some parody video, then, I'll check it out. But I feel like a lot of the times with YouTube, I'm like the last one to know. Like everybody was talking about this, that thing that everybody was doing. Now I forget what it was. That Harlem Shake thing when everybody was like acting. Yeah, like I didn't know what was going on until somebody had mentioned. I'm like, what is that? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the big thing for me right now is the one with the new Pope. He's sitting there going, he's out there picking his nose, and then he eats it. So.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to see that unless I want to.
It's about 10 seconds. It's not even 10 seconds long. He goes, he picks his nose. He goes, oh, where's, and then he puts it in his mouth, and like he gets this look on his head. And
then disgusting.
Yeah, it is a little disgusting. So the infallible Pope is likes boogers, but. But anyway, besides being on YouTube and your magazine, what do you do outside of that? Do you have another job for right now, or is your sole income?
I do have another job. I have a regular working day job.
You don't have to give the name of it.
No. I would never disclose.
Oh, that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
The name, but yes, I do, and I remain undercover, and nobody knows who I am, and that's a good thing. It's nice to be anonymous.
Yes.
At least for now.
Yeah.
My goal at the end of the day is not to be so anonymous and maybe walk down the street and people say, "Hey, that's Marabelle Blue." I'm sure that day will come, but needless to say, I really it's almost sad. I don't know if this is good or bad. I mean, I do go out. It's not like I don't go out, but a lot of the times when I go out, it's all business related. I'm out meeting publicists. I'm meeting adult stars. I'm meeting porn stars. I'm meeting BDS stars. BDSM. I mean, it's like, this is what my whole life has really evolved to. When I get people asking me, yeah, let's hang out. If I don't like them, I tell them, sure, you know, we'll hang out really soon, and that's never going to happen.
Now I know if you say, yeah, I'll come back again real soon. Sure. She hated us. Oh no. I'm not personal curiosity. Now you said you do stuff with BDSM. Do you like have a lot of BDSM apparel, toy type things? I mean, do you get like sponsored stuff like that? Is it like do you have like people that just say if you show this on your show that you basically get a discount or free, or how does that work for? Or do you have to buy it just pour Bruno all the way out on your own dime, as it were?
Packard is in the market, by the way.
Yes. I'm looking for a good whip. Yeah. Just kidding.
That was
maybe a good harness and a little mask. You know.
You're gonna have to get like a sound effect. You have to do that to your show. If you do that, believe me, I'll be logging in every Friday night. Dying.
I'll get a whip sound.
I do have a small collection that's building up. I do have 2 whips. I have several paddles.
Really?
I think I have handcuffs somewhere. Although I like.
I got a pair of handcuffs. I do. I have a pair of real police issue handcuffs. These are they're not the fluffy cuffs. These are real handcuffs.
And I don't know how you got out of those without cutting them off.
I never tell.
Joe.
Hey, I had to, Joe. You left me attached to the bed. Come on now.
It was Gerald's game in real life.
I have to say that it's funny that you bring that up, because I wrote a blog not too long ago on my WordPress. Every now and then, when something stupid happens, I feel the need to write about it. And I wrote recently about the confusion of what people get when they're seeking out, a BDSM partner. And I was talking about a guy who I met, I think it was last summer. And, he was basically feeding me the guys that he was looking for, a dominatrix and, and financial stuff and whatever. And then we go out and meet, and he was not very good looking. And he goes on to talk about how he wants a woman, that his fetish, which to me is not a real fetish, but his fetish was that he wants a woman to sit on him so he can eat her out. And I'm like, looking at him like, okay, that's not like a real fetish. You're like sitting here basically saying that you want to have sex with me for free. And, first of all, I'm not a prostitute.
Right.
So, I'm not attracted to you. So neither one is going to happen. And
right.
I think that's where people get really, really confused with what bondage is really about, what pro dominas are, and who they are, and how they service their client. Joe Unseen says, my sister banged Ron Jeremy.
Yes.
I actually made out with Ron Jeremy last year.
Did you? Really? Wow.
And he's a really good kisser, I need to say that. I couldn't believe it. Oh my goodness. Like the first porn movie I saw was a teenager, and I'm like making out with this man. But anyway, getting back to the topic at hand, I think in and again, it's like it's going back to Connie and about evolving and being productive members of society, that, You know, we have these different lifestyles and we have these different beliefs, and it's really about respecting one another's boundaries. And I think people really get lost in that. They sit there and they hide behind their computers. I mean, I wrote about a couple of days ago, I wrote about Duck Dynasty. I made a comment on Facebook.
Yeah.
Duck Dynasty. Don't get it, don't care.
Right.
And like these two women blatantly attacked me on Facebook. Now, my Facebook profile is public, so there are some things that I put for public consumption. And, you know, when I do that, it automatically goes to Twitter. Now, nobody on Twitter really said that. If anything, they just retweeted what I said.
Right.
And, you know, and favored it. On Facebook, I had these two women. One is calling me a whore, and I'm...
Because you don't like Duck Dynasty? Hey, you don't like Duck Dynasty, you're a whore!
Porn, whatever. And the other one was talking about... she was talking in large caps, too. So when you know, in our world of computer, when you speak in large caps, you're yelling.
Yeah.
And she's going off, you don't know anything about that show, and blah. And I'm like, okay, like, let's understand what I just said.
You know,
like,
that's very similar to that experience right there. It's very similar to like a lot of people we have as atheists to have to deal with Christians. Like, you don't understand Jesus. You don't understand religion. It's like, what the hell is there to understand? Really, it's the same. It's the same thing.
It's insanity, and you can't argue with insanity, and you can't explain stupid. It's a total waste of time. Yep. I think, you know, this is the reason why I put it's on my WordPress post, and it's called Valuable Meanings, and I put it up just the other day, and once I put it up, I got like a lot of more people following me, and basically it was breaking down the meaning of the word hate, of the word indifferent, and the word care, because I think that these two women got lost in the sauce of probably having fantasies about long-bearded men eating out their hairy pussies, and they thought that I was talking about hating these guys. I don't hate these guys. I don't care about the people that watch them. When you put care into something, you're putting your energy into something. When you put hate into something, you're putting that energy into it. Being that I don't watch the show, I don't care for the show, I have no interest of the show, it means that I'm indifferent. And I used an example on my blog. I said, you know, people are indifferent towards animals. It doesn't mean that they hate an animal or they wish bad or they have ill feelings towards the animals. It just means that it's not part of their scope. And people get so upset over that shit. It's like, why the fuck are you getting upset for? Why do you care? Why? It's like, it's that person's belief. It's that person's choice. And you're taking the time out of your life to try and fix that person. Right. And people just don't know how to mind their fucking business. It came to a point that I had to block these women because I was not going to sit there and be attacked over something that I feel indifferent towards. I don't get it, and I don't care.
There's no reason to.
It's over and done with.
Yeah, it's just a fucking TV show, people. If you don't like it, you don't like it. There's people out there, you know, I don't understand why they don't like it, but it doesn't affect me. There's some people out there who don't like Doctor Who, or they don't like Star Wars, they don't like Star Trek, whatever it is, you know. If they don't like, or they don't like Star... What's that?
They're dead to me, Packard.
They are dead to me too, Connie, but hey, let them go on their way as far as I'm concerned.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. Marabelle, I have one more quick question before you, and then I'm going to turn over my questions to the people over in the chat room and our co-host here. I saw one of your videos, and now you can feel free if you don't want to answer this. That's perfectly up to you. That one of the videos you have, you were actually got. I've never actually had a chance to talk to anybody who's done this. The video you were in, you were riding a Sibian machine. One, this is a two-part question. One, did you buy one? And two, how much were they selling those things for? Because I've seen them sell. I've seen these things supposedly selling for like $2,000-3,000. What was the experience like for you in that instance?
Well, first I have to say, I have to give credit to Dave Lampert, who created the Sybian. He's a very good friend of mine. I know him personally. I've never met him, but I know him personally. I have his phone number. He has mine, and he calls me by my real name.
Wow.
I actually rode the Sybian at Exotica earlier this year in Atlantic City. It was at the table of my crew, Cocklet Pops. They sell chocolate pops, and the guy handling the control was very, very cute, and it was very easy to look at him and just try and concentrate on having an orgasm until this guy appeared that I used to appear on his show, and he kind of like ruined the moment for me. But I can tell you that being on there really felt different from the vibrator in my drawer. It has, I don't know what magic Dave Lampert put into this machine, but it definitely feels different. And I think that if a woman wanted to have a different kind of experience as far as orgasms was concerned,
right,
a Sybian is a great investment to make. And to answer your other question, I have not gotten one yet, but I intend to when I am no longer sharing my apartment with my family members.
And when that happens, you just like, I'm just gonna lock the door and I won't see you for about a month.
Well, what I'll do is I'll really test it out because he says it gets rid of migraine. So I'll wait till I have a migraine one particular day and get on there and see if it goes away.
I've heard that helps too. No, I personally, I mean, I don't have any medical training on this, but I think that it's just the position is probably why the experience is so much more intense. Being in a more vertical position because you have to hold yourself upright and you have to take more control of all your muscles. And and then instead of, where you're using a toy where you'd be laying down or leaning back against something, on a machine like that, you're, like I just said, you have to hold yourself up. So you're more everything's gonna be a little bit more intense. I mean,
I think what would be easier is if I have a monkey bars belt on and have the guy behind me holding me with the belt on the Sybian.
Hold up!
Yes. Just thinking about it now, I took a deep breath. I love talking about sex. I think it's a good conversation.
Yes, it is. How long ago was that you had that experience? Did you use that? Did you get when you tried that? How long ago was that?
It was actually earlier this year at Exotica. I think it was in April.
So if it was back in April and here it is almost October, and you're just even thinking about it, you're like, oh, okay, that has to take some kind of impact on you. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, it was funny that you were thinking you were saying that because I was thinking a couple of days ago that Exotica's coming up in October, and I'm saying who's going to be there with a Sybian so that I could get on there. I said this time I'm going to be ready.
Okay. I'm gonna turn my questions over to the panel here. Joe, do you have questions for Marabelle Blue?
Not really, but I would like to discuss some of your videos with you. I was watching a lot of your videos today. I have wireless headphones, so I put on your channel, I was playing your playlist, and I was like walking around the house listening to your voice. And you talk a lot about sex and relationships and TV shows, and I noticed that when you were talking about relationships, sometimes you would talk about religion, and my ears would perk up at that point. I'd listen a little bit closer, and you would acknowledge that sometimes religion can be an issue in a relationship, and I thought that was cool that you were actually talking about that kind of stuff. And then in one of your videos, you were talking about a tree that was in the shape of a weeping saint. Do you recall that?
No.
It was like in the shape of the...
Oh, yes. I think... I don't know. I remember I was making fun of something in the news.
Yeah. It was in the shape of... I couldn't make out what you said. It was like the Mother Mary or something like that. But people were flocking to this tree from far and wide to see this tree.
They were taking pictures like lunatics saying that Mary was in this tree. And I'm saying to myself, didn't anybody ever think that maybe somebody carved that shit in there? And then they think, some kind of miracle happened?
Right.
Yeah.
When you were telling that story, I thought it was really cool that you critically asked the question, like, well, maybe somebody carved it, or maybe the tree had a disease and it happened to rot into that shape. And I was like, aha, like, this woman is awesome because she's asking questions like that.
Yes.
You have to ask questions like that. If you don't, you're just going to take in what somebody else is saying, and you're not allowing yourself to analyze what it is that they're saying. Then you're just taking it at face value and saying, okay, and you're not making a discussion for yourself. As human beings, we have to challenge ourselves all the time. I mean, maybe not everybody believes in that. I personally believe in it. Running a business and running a magazine, it's like two entirely different things, because I'm running the business aspect of it, and that's a challenge by itself. And then I'm running the magazine aspect of it, where I'm talking to different people and I'm gaining so much information. And in that show, I had to bring that up because people were losing their minds over this tree and thinking, some miracle happened. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, nobody thought that maybe the night before somebody came and made that on purpose. It's, you can't, I mean, you can't make like a grilled cheese and then, the pan is like shaped in a certain way and then say, oh my God, Jesus is in the grilled cheese.
Then they sold it on eBay with a bite missing from it. Like, oh my God, it's the Mother Mary. Oh, it's a miracle. It's a grilled cheese.
Our holy grilled cheese.
The holy grilled cheese. Like, holy fucking shit. How fucking, moron are you?
When I listened to you talk about that tree, though, it got me thinking. I was like, okay, let's say a disease did cause the tree to rot away into that shape, and it was just oozing sap, and people happened to look at it. Let's say the same thing happened in India. Would they see the Virgin Mary in a tree, or would they see their local god in that same tree?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
So your video actually got me thinking about that because I thought it was cool. Another thing is I noticed a lot of your videos you talk about The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. I'm not a huge fan of those shows, but my wife is, and sometimes I watch them with her. And I'll tell you a real quick story here. A while back on Twitter, one of the bachelors from season 3 of The Bachelorette was on Twitter, and he was bad-mouthing atheists. And he was going around talking about y'all need Jesus and stuff like that. And he was getting a lot of attention by saying things like that, and a lot of people that we all follow were like talking to him, and I was even talking to him a bit, and he was giving me some shit, and it was kind of funny. It went on for a couple of days, and then finally he just shut up. He was like, all right, I'm done with all you atheists on Twitter. And he started talking about his burgeoning acting career. And I showed a picture of his profile picture to my wife, and she immediately recognized him. She was like, oh yeah, that guy, he's an asshole.
Who was the Bachelor in season 3? I can't remember. It wasn't...
It was one of the guys. It was The Bachelorette, and it was one of the guys that was in the house. So it was like there was many guys.
It was The Bachelorette season 3.
Yeah, and I think his name was Steve, but I don't remember. I mean, it was a while ago. It was like maybe a year ago he was doing this, but he was all over Twitter trying to engaging people in conversations about God and religion and stuff, and we were having a lot of fun talking to him because he didn't really know what he was doing.
Well, I think it goes back to my comments that. I've made probably hundreds of times on the show and in private and talking with friends and writing about blogs that, I think that when you start involving religion to define a relationship, basically you're fucked. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. You start implementing these rules and conditions in a relationship that I think, way back when, nobody was really thinking about it. And when I say way back when, probably like in the Roman times or, whatever. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But, I think that a lot of society thinking today is so screwed up that you just start putting these limitations on relationships, and I just think that it's really unfair. I mean, I started seeing a man a couple of years ago. The relationship didn't last very long, and he and I are good friends as well. It seems that everybody that I break up with, I ended up becoming a good friend with them. But
that tends to happen.
He practices the Islamic faith. He's a Muslim. And he is completely wrapped in that. And I completely respect him as a result of that. He doesn't sit there and try and convert anything to me. And this is the reason why I can talk to him, because he's just one of those people that's just intellectually smart. And if you're intellectually smart, then I want to talk with you and get to know you. I'm not going to care about your religious beliefs or aspects, because in this case, he doesn't come off that way. Well, if you live this way, then whatever. But the demise of the relationship was because of the religion. I was not going to convert into something that I have no belief in. I'm not going to wrap my head in a scarf, because of some punishment, or somebody mentioned to me the other day that it goes to show you what those men are, that have to have their wives all covered up so that other men don't look at them. Yeah,
that I think when it comes to Islamic religion, that basically says to the men, it's like, hey, that you have no self-control. And I don't think they even see that. It's like they blame the women, but it's like, well, if it's the women's fault, then it's your fault that you think you're going to have to go and rape these women. So then the problem is you, not them. I don't want to get this on for too long, because I'm going to have a hell of a job editing.
Does Connie have any questions?
Yeah, I was going to get to Connie. Do you have any questions for Marabelle Blue?
My questions are really difficult, and I'm going to say it out front. It's because, how do we normalize sex if we are uncomfortable with sexuality? There have been a lot of things, because I am an atheist, and obviously, because of I was a Christian, there's a very prudish attitudes I had towards sex growing up and whatnot. And so even though I was watching your videos and I found myself getting really uncomfortable, I haven't been a Christian for over 7 years now. And I was like, I can't watch these videos, and it's not like I've had 8 kids. It's not like I'm not familiar with sex. I was trying to find an approach to ask you a question, and I just have to say that, I just can only approach it from everything I've been saying up till now. I think that we really have to be honest with ourselves about sexuality, about who we are and what we want in relationships. I think that's where the problem is in most relationships, and I don't know if you find that, but it's like, hey, I am only in this relationship right now. I saw this on one of your videos. It's like, I don't think that anybody under the age of 25 should probably get married, simply because they're still exploring. I think that everybody should be on birth control, and I think that, what I'm saying, I just think that there's so many reasons that sexuality is something that, how do we feel about it? Well, anyway, that's not really a question. I'm sorry, Marabelle, but
it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying everything that you're saying.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I wish that I wish I fully understood it, because I've got, I got some teen kids, and I'm trying to be a responsible parent with them and understand things like, their sexuality and what to tell them growing up. Well, I guess a question I would have is, you have a blog then? You have a blog? Because I didn't find that when I was looking.
I do have a blog, and sometimes I forget that I have it until something comes up like Duck Dynasty the other day, where I was like, wait a minute.
Who watches that?
I need to blog about this.
Anyway.
I do have a blog on WordPress. It's it's marabelleblue.wordpress.com, and it's called Viewing the World in a Box.
Okay.
I don't know if you found it, but anyway,
I will.
well, what was your what was your question a second?
I'm sorry, it wasn't really a question. Well,
Well, you were talking about sexuality and the uncomfortable of
yes. All right. How have you? How did you become comfortable with your sexuality?
I became comfortable with it when, quite honestly, when I broke up with my ex-boyfriend. I think when I was with him, I was so, oh, how do I phrase this? I was not happy with my body. I never felt comfortable in my skin.
That's not uncommon. A lot of women have that same experience.
Yeah,
They're
but
not-
you know what it
have
is
that.
that you have to, you don't have to, but for me, I find ways every day. There really is no cure in making yourself feel better. I think this is where people get completely lost. You don't get cured by feeling better. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
You
I think
just kind of find a way to deal with that moment, with that feeling, you know, whatever that feeling may be. You deal with it for that day. And I think that every time that I had a certain feeling about myself or about sex or whatever, I just deal with that specific feeling and not just try and take on the whole thing and analyze what happened to me as a child and what happened to me in the middle and what happened to me growing up, because it becomes too much after a while, and then you get disgusted with yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, I honestly, I am not really a sexually active person. I love talking about sex. I love talking about relationships. I mean, you know, like I talk about The Bachelor. There's a reason why I talk about The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, because you're watching relationships, quote unquote, flourish on TV, and it's sensationalized to make people think that this is how you find love, and they don't talk about all the relationships that have failed as a result of that show. I mean, I'm waiting for the announcement of the last episode, the last season with Desiree and this guy Chris. I'm waiting for the announcement that they broke up, because I know that it's going to happen. And, you know, you had this guy that was predicting that she was going to be with somebody else. And while we were all convinced that was going to happen, it ended up being something completely different. And now I'm convinced that this guy is in on making people believe that this is what's going to happen, because it's just sensationalizing everything else. As for me, I look at it like this. If I don't want to deal with something, or rather, if I don't want to deal with someone on a sexual level, I don't deal with it.
Right.
That is my choice. I mean, there's a guy who I was with last year, and, you know, he wants to see me again, and I would like to see him. And, you know, I had that wonderful feeling a couple of weeks ago, and now the feeling left me. And, you know, if I see him, I see him, and if I don't, I don't. It's kind of like that way. You know, the difference between having a sexual relationship with someone and then having some kind of relationship as far as bondage is concerned is, for me, it's two entirely different things, because there isn't the sex involved. It's more of a mental thing, of a control thing, of a worship thing, of idolizing me, if you will, you know, of having that control over someone. You know, whether it's humiliating them, whether it's spanking them, whether it's whipping them. And I found comfort in that. And I think that was the thing that I had trouble with, because when I saw it on TV, it was something that, or rather when I read it in books, because it wasn't on TV, but, you know, when you read it in books and people are talking about it and you hear about it, my mind perked up. It's like, wait a minute, there's something out there other than just having sex. And this is where I found my little niche of where I personally got off. And when I say that, I'm not saying having an orgasm. What I'm saying is that it was thrilling for me. I remember a
Oh,
while
okay.
back, somebody was talking about, I don't know if it was on Howard Stern or something like that, where there were people who liked to have sex but didn't have the orgasm. And they were happy with that.
Oh yeah, there's some people like that too. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, do you have any other questions? Because we got some questions in the
Oh
chat
no,
room.
take them from the peanut gallery or
Okay.
whatever we call them here.
Yes. Dawkins Dog asks Marabelle, do you think that the Christian tendency to make sex a taboo subject is actually detrimental to society because it mystifies it for teenagers?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think that sex should be hidden or not discussed. I think the Pope had mentioned the other day that we shouldn't be focusing in on abortion and on gays and stuff like that. First of all, I don't even know how the Catholic religion or the Catholic as a whole got stuck in all of this. I mean, aren't they supposed to be concentrating on worship their fake God? I don't know, but they should not be involved. And that goes for any exterior organization. They should not be involved with the upbringing of other people's children. You should just be involved with your own upbringing. If a person decides to have a child and you are a parent, it is your responsibility to teach that child, to nurture that child, and not put them in a position where if you say, if you play with yourself, like God is going to punish you. Because that was like a big one. No, you're not supposed to do that to yourself because God is watching you and God is going to punish you.
Yeah, that always
And
thought,
then,
it's like I always thought, that when people would say that, it took me a few years after I became an atheist. Like, shit, if God's supposedly watching us, he's a fucking pervert. We're porn for God. Come on now.
I mean no, I don't think that any religious aspect should get involved at all. I think it's the parent's job, and if the parent is teaching the child and putting religion in there, well then that's on them. I think sooner or later, once you get exposed to the world around you, you're just going to have no other choice but to find things out on your own, and that's what's going to happen. You as a child in psychology, you learn the condition of how to brush your teeth and how to eat and how to do all of these things, and you're not immediately aware of the world around you until you become aware of it and you're introduced to the world, and the world is introduced to you, and that's when you go on your journey of self-discovery.
Very true, very true. We have another quick question from You're Damned. He's another host here on the show. He says, what are your thoughts on the differences and similarities of sex and intimacy? Spoken Venn diagram, if you will.
Spoken in diagram?
A spoken Venn diagram, kind of paint a picture, as it were.
Intersecting, a Venn diagram is two intersecting circles.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Like,
yeah, you're like
think.
This type thing here. You get.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, I think so.
You're damned. Yeah.
So it's sex and intimacy, right?
Sex and intimacy. What's the difference? Well, very simple. Does he want me to answer my own personal experience or just as general?
I think just general. I think here. You just want your thoughts, so I'd imagine just what are your thoughts on it? Your opinion.
Sex is just sex. I mean, you can have sex with somebody and never see them again.
That's true.
Intimacy goes on a deeper level. You're getting to know the person. You're experimenting with that person. You can't help but to have emotions and feelings involved. I think the level of intimacy is when you really start experimenting with your partner and doing different things and developing a certain point of trust. When you're having sex with somebody, you're not thinking about, I want to, see what it feels like to stick my finger up his ass. I mean, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about, you just want to get off. You want to feel good. You want to have that orgasm, and then, and then send him on his way. At least that's the way I would do it. But anyway.
Yeah.
The difference between intimacy and just sexual pleasure. I mean, or well.
So basically, you've in your mind you've already separated out the sex from the intimacy. The intimacy for you would probably be something that on a more personal level, where just sex is just go and bang and then just be done with it. Just enjoy yourself and have fun, and then whatever happens after that, whether they leave and you never see them again, or you have sex with them again, that would be then you can work into something that may become more intimate later on, if I've gathered that correctly.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, it depends on the person that you're with. I mean, I look at it from my own personal perspective. If I'm going to be intimate with somebody, I'm getting to know them and I'm inviting them in my life, and I'm talking to them on a regular basis. I'm doing things with them, and they're becoming at one with me, and vice versa. I think with just sexual intentions, you're just having sex with that person. I'm not saying that people that have like a sexual partner, if you will, that they're not friends and they don't speak or whatever. Excuse me. Many years ago, I had a partner who I just had sex with, but we were also friends. And, he would call me up. He's like, hey, you want to get together? And I'm like, sure, why not? And we would get together, and, and that was that. But it never went anything more than that. I think when I think about intimacy, I'm thinking about that you're establishing some level of trust and relationship with this person, even if you're not in love with them. I mean, love is an entirely different thing. I'm looking at it as something different.
Okay. We got one more quick question, then we're going to have to cut out of here. We got one more question from your Dan. He says, if you could talk directly to teenagers of today, what would you want to say to them?
I would definitely tell them to keep their legs closed. Because I think that teenagers today are extremely presumptuous about sexuality and what being sexy means. They are definitely different from when I was a teenager growing up back in the 80s. We didn't have fake nails. We didn't have cut-off shirts. We didn't have hair weaves. It was, you were who you were, and that was that. You didn't do anything different other than, you put on horrible blue eyeshadow with white around the eyebrows, and you wore fluorescent clothing, and we didn't have cell phones. So
yeah, that's true. Now everybody's sexting. No one has to worry about catching anything unless they want to catch a virus on their phone.
And I mean, yeah, exactly. And that's what I would say. And I would tell them to really take under consideration. I think this is the one thing that will always stay with me, and it will probably answer a little bit of Connie's questions, that at the end of the day, it is your body. And it's your choice to say no.
Right.
Doesn't matter what that other person is saying. If they're not going to like you because you don't want to suck their dick or you don't want them to fuck you, that's okay. Keep it moving.
Right.
You will feel better about yourself at the end of the day because you didn't give in to somebody else's demands.
Right.
That's an entirely different thing from the BDSM lifestyle.
Right.
And I would tell teenagers that you always have a choice.
Yes.
And never give in to somebody's demands, because it's not worth it. It's not going to generate or develop the self-esteem that kids think that they're going to find, watching a lot of reality TV shows that depicts that if you have this certain lifestyle, everybody's going to be kissing your feet.
Right.
It just doesn't happen that way. For a lot of people, for the majority of the people in this world, real life is going out to work and, paying the bills and trying to survive. For a lot of other people, it's an entirely different thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And people should definitely think about their decisions. And, It all stems from Sesame Street, people. If you watch Sesame Street, it instills in you what happens when you make a choice and what the outcome would be. I think just a lot of kids today are just doing things and they're not thinking about the outcome. They're just doing it because it feels good for that moment, the temptation, but they're not thinking about what's going to happen in the long run.
Right.
And this is why a lot of kids get in trouble today.
Yeah, and they're not thinking of their consequences.
No, exactly. That's the word I was looking for. Exactly.
Right.
They're not thinking about the long-term consequences. So keep your legs closed, because if you open it up under the guise that a guy is telling you that it's going to feel good, you can make babies that way.
Yes. and make sure but if you're going to make that decision, take protection. Wear a condom, be responsible.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're not there to be the ones to tell you can't do it, but we're suggesting you not to. But anyway, Marabelle, I want to thank you for joining us here on the show. And you're welcome, of course, to come and join us in the chat room, and we'll eventually have you back on the show again as soon as we possibly can.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And
thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you very much for coming. And not in that same way, obviously.
Packard.
I had to go there. We've been talking
still
about
on that Swedish beach.
Imagine the world having an orgasm all at once.
Oh, I think we would shake the planet right out of its orbit.
No, Packard.
I feel like that after every show.